The guy I brought with me was shot, and I was shot 3 more times. Once in the jaw, once in the collarbone, and once in my neck. So now, I am a forensic peer support specialist. And for over 25 years, I help men that's getting released from prison get acclimated back into society.
What's up, Changemakers? Welcome to another episode of JLD Storytellers, where we showcase inspiring stories of men of color in our community. Let's get into it. Well, it's just me today. I don't have my co-host with me, Mr. Kokaro Smith, but I assure you, we have an amazingly riveting interview today that I believe will leave you inspired and ready to be a part of positive change in our community. So without further ado, I would like to bring to the stage Mr. Alphonso Thomas.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Good. Absolutely. It is a pleasure to have you here. I feel so blessed to be able to have this time to talk to you because who you are, your story, it just means so much to myself and the reason why our organization even exists. To give a little bit of background for those who would be wondering, I had the opportunity to meet you during an event that was put on by NAMI here in Lexington, North Carolina, the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And they had an event that they put on back in March during mental health awareness. And you were the guest speaker. And I just felt so very blessed to, have an opportunity to hear your story. And I have so many questions here for you because I just want others to hear your story. But and not only did once I had the chance to meet you, were you willing to be a part of this interview, but you actually were the keynote speaker for our recent gun violence awareness event that we held, the Lexington Community Safety Awareness event. So thank you.
Was doing that I would stop. Well, as you can see, I walked on stage, so he honored his end, but I didn't necessarily honor my end. Soon as I was able to limp, I retaliated and shot all guys that I believe was involved in my shooting. It wouldn't be long. I was 19 years old and I was shot again. This time in the fatty tissue. It pierced through her. I had to refuse EMS because I had drugs and guns in my possession. And my mother told me, son, it seemed like the bullets are getting higher. I didn't pay it any mind. I kept on with my destruction. And before long, in order to do the things that I was doing, you had to have a heavy heart. So I turned to drugs. And the drugs kind of made it easier for me to do some of the things that I was doing. I finally had enough, and I wish I could tell you this is where I got my life together. I went into a place called the Agape House Outreach Center, and the place was only a 60-day program. But I know I needed more time because I had been on this journey for a while. So I stayed there for about 1.5 years. And when I was released from there, I was nervous because I never seen anybody make a transition that was a part of my immediate family or either just by looking from afar. And sure enough, as things would have it, I was sitting on my mother's porch and I heard shooting. So I went up there because I know the neighborhood recognized me. I was gonna use my OG status to confront these little guys and tell them, hey man, my mother stayed 3 houses down. Y'all need to stop the shooting. But I guess I had been gone for some time, and these words exchanged turned into something else. I brought another brother up there with me because I knew the guys had guns because they were shooting. So by the time I confronted these guys, the guy I brought with me was shot, and I was shot 3 more times. Once in the jaw, once in the collarbone, and once in my neck. And before I hit the ground, these was my last words. God, please take my life. It's evident that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have instructions, and I don't know what to do next. Only to wake up about a week and a half later out of a coma. I see my mother, and she got a familiar face. Her face is stained with tears, but she's been here before. I lost my father to gun violence as well when he was the age 23. And as I was trying to ask God for my request, the only thing that I would have shown from that is that I exceeded him in life by 3 years. I was 26 years old when I got shot up for the 3rd time. So I stopped complaining. I stopped making excuses. I had to heal. And for us and our communities, I believe that's why we're gathered today, because we all have to heal.
Yeah.
But I had to learn how to talk again. I had a trait in my throat. I had to learn how to walk again. But the main thing that I gathered from that experience, I had to learn my ABCs again. Not my alphabet, but my attitude, my behavior, and my conduct that led me to these series of events. I began to study psychology, sociology, and neuroscience. Not for I can get a degree, but I can find out what's going on with me. So I began getting answers to some of my behavior. And I noticed that I had covered all the survival skills, but no coping skills. I knew all the aggression, but no focused solutions. I didn't know de-escalating techniques, and I didn't know any methods that would help me make a successful transition. But as I poured out more and more, mentors, different organizations began to step into my circle and provide me with the things that I needed. So now I am a forensic peer support specialist. And for over 25 years, I help men that's getting released from prison get acclimated back into society. I also help with NAMI and organizations like that, and the youth. I began speaking to the juvenile, and the first thing the elders asked me was, these juveniles and our youth have gotten out of hand. What should we do next? I told them what I do is what I was missing. I simply treat them like a human being, and I offer them a hug. These are the things that's missing. And we go into the streets and we look for whatever that we think that we're missing. And wherever there's a void, we'll begin to create a vice for it. So I began teaching and showing others how they can modify their behavior for they too can make a successful transition. I thank you guys for listening. I hope that this message don't fall on deaf ears. And if you're a caregiver, what I encourage you is, don't give up on your loved ones. Because in the end, we win.
That's
Thank
right.
you guys.
Y'all clap your hands together. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity again.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I know that I am eager for individuals to learn about you. You are the founder, owner of Champ Training and Consulting. And you said that Champ is an acronym, right?
Yes. So CHAMP stands for choosing healthy alternatives to maximize your potential.
And I'm telling you all, when you hear his story and realize how he has changed his life from where it was to now helping others to choose healthy alternatives and maximize their potential, you're going to be so inspired. So, without further ado, I want to jump into the questions. And the first question that I have is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience growing up in St. Louis?
I was born and raised in St. Louis. I grew up during a time when survival meant everything. So that often overshadowed dreams, goals, and certain outcomes, especially that your caregivers was looking for. So the environment was tough, like many black men and many impoverished communities. But I was surrounded by systemic and neglect and broken
Mm-hmm.
promises. And
Mm-hmm.
here I always said I didn't have an opportunity. If I would have seen more, maybe I would have done better. But the truth
Mm.
is, now that I look back, I was surrounded by black entrepreneurs, civic leaders,
Wow.
all type of builders. But instead of embracing what they had built at that time, I stole out of their stores. I sold drugs in front of their stores, and I even robbed some people in their establishments. And then years later, I look back and say, I wonder why they don't have any black entrepreneurs or buildings that we own there. So
Mm.
it's really at a time now that I was blinded by chasing the illusion of fast money and power and these things. But the hard truth now that I face is finding peace with myself, and that's probably why I go so hard advocating for communities and having accountability for my leadership.
Wow. You just said a lot. But one of the things that stood out to me is how you said, because one of the things I feel like it matters is like representation, like seeing someone that looks like you that's doing something that you wouldn't have otherwise imagined yourself doing. And you said that even though at one point, like you thought about like, man, if I could have saw, but then you look back and you realize, wait, but they were there.
Yeah,
I just maybe chose not to see that because, like you said, I was more focused on this idea of fast money. Like
yeah,
the ones who were living the life, getting the fast money, it was flashier, it was bigger, it screamed louder, it had more visual for you than the ones who were working hard, building their own businesses
yeah.
and being civic leaders. Wow. Wow. So in all of that, so kind of going into the next question now, because like you said, there were those businesses, the black entrepreneurs, there were the black civic leaders. So at that point in your time, what were some of the biggest influences, good or bad, that shaped you as a young man?
Well, wildly, the hustlers and the healers helped shape me.
Mm,
So the streets
mm,
taught me a strategy of survival, how to read people, how to move in high pressure situations. But as I began to quietly question if there was more to life, I found myself drawn to books, conscious videos, Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. Amos Wilson, and these
mm,
guys kind of helped me woke up. That exposure changed everything. I began studying different books, why we were so oppressed, what was the cultural disconnection for our communities.
mm,
So I saw myself
mm,
and my role in the world it moved me from being reactive to intentional, from
Mm-hmm.
surviving to actually understanding why things existed. And I had no choice then, once my mind was open, to become this advocate, whether it was a prison advocate, an advocate for the community. And one thing I always took pride in is really running the bully out of the community. And I believe that I never change. I'm one that believes energy just simply transfer from one state to another. So I'm still on board, and I'm still on the path that God has set for me.
Absolutely. And you say you were chasing the bully. You're still about chasing the bully. And so that energy transferred. So at one point, you were on the side of like, hey, I'm out here. I'm in the street. I'm hustling. I'm about to
Yeah,
chase you out before you chase me out.
that's
And
right.
now it's like, wait a minute. Now I'm gonna shift that energy. I'm still about to get out what ain't supposed to be here, but I'm gonna fight it from a different angle.
Yeah, we call these transferable skills.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah,
I remember, like you were saying, when I got to hear you and Nami, and you were talking about how when you talk to young men now, in, if they're out in the streets, if they're selling drugs or what have you, and you're like, listen, you got a skill. You are entrepreneur, man. Like, you can take this, like, you literally have a skill. You could take this now and you can replace it. You can or put it in another type of packaging and actually create a real business for yourself. And so that's kind of how you inspire others that have walked the shoes that you have walked.
yes, that's the goal.
Awesome. So another question that I have for you is, based on your experience, what would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions of young men who are involved in drug dealing or gang activity?
Okay, and I have to be careful when I say this, but many young men like myself came from a fatherless generation. And
Mm-hmm.
my own father was killed when I was 3 years old. And that wasn't uncommon where I grew up at. Some fathers, they was out of the home maybe because of drugs, prison, addiction, or simply just disappeared. And we don't often talk about that type of loss that we face, a young man trying to figure out manhood that has no blueprint. But
Mm-hmm.
what I want to say is what people fail to realize is that absence of those fathers forced us to help raise one another. So the bond
Mm-hmm.
wasn't just about the gang life. It was more about belonging to something, whether it was wrong or right. It was about having people who would stand with you, and when the rest of the world made you invisible. So it was
Mm-hmm.
about having that voice and camaraderie that we was looking for. For many of us, this was the closest thing to a family. It was there
Mm-hmm.
we could feel protected, valued, and connected in a way society denied us anywhere else. So I'm still close to some guys,
Mm-hmm.
of course, that made the transition too, because what
Yes.
I done was I increased my value. And I tell guys, I still love you, but I can't ride with you because you
Yeah.
may have something illegal in there. And the people that I help today in the communities, they depend on me too much for me to put myself in jeopardy. So
Mm-hmm.
when others say, man, yeah, you think you better than us now, right? I don't say that I'm better than you. I say I'm better for me. So these were some of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I realized, and some of the misconceptions. It was no like the movies where guys was forced into a gang. They
Uh-huh.
chose that because they was
Uh-huh.
missing this piece right here. And what they
Mm-hmm.
don't show that most guys mature. It's true. Some guys to the death, they toss up, they throw up, and that's the life they live. And some guys, they begin working. They
Mm-hmm.
begin being fathers, especially if you didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a father like myself. And those things become more of a pride to you right there. So that's one of the things I wanted to point out. Yeah, we help raise one another.
Wow. And ain't that something, like you have this group of misguided or young men who have not been given, like you said, you've not been given a blueprint. You don't have quite necessarily the blueprint in front of you. You don't have the example in front of you, yet somehow you bond together and say, with what we have, with whatever we do have, we gonna use that to support each other. And so this is the result of working with what we have. And so I feel like, for many of us who may be on the outside looking in, it's like, you know we see the danger, so we kind of want to stay back because we like, I don't want to put myself in the danger of that. But also just this reckoning of understanding that these are individuals who need guidance. They stand in need of some guidance, and it is so important because I think of my nephew, even, because like you said that you lost your dad when you were 3, and my nephew was 3 going on 4 years old when my brother was killed to gun violence. And I just see how much of a blessing it is that he had wonderful men around him, his grandfathers and uncles, and other men that just poured into him so that he can be the young man he is today. And so, listening to what you said, if you're not that young man who has those men in your life that can pour into you, and so all you have is all each other, misguided individuals pouring into each other, then as a community, it's like, what do you expect to happen out of that?
Exactly. And I
You
and I
know?
want to add, if I can, there to what you just said. So I speak to men that are suffering from substance abuse, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times I ask them, "What is your wellness plan?" Because I'm a wellness
Mm-hmm.
coach, so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what wellness plan do you have in play? And they
Mm-hmm.
often say, they sound almost robotic. Call my sponsor. Make 90 meetings in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, we have to come from a place of hope to expectations. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so we may have to graduate from, yeah, sure. If addiction and substance abuse is your thing, maybe you do need a sponsor. But about the
Uh-huh.
guy that just sold drugs, he never did drugs. What do he have? See, this is where all men need a
Mm-hmm.
mentor. A great doctor
Yes.
needs a doctor. A great therapist
Mm-hmm.
usually has a therapist. So when you don't have the blueprint available, you need these things in play instead of, or else you just freestyling in life. So I
Mm-hmm.
recommend
Mm-hmm.
each young man, and even guys my own age,
Mm-hmm.
get you a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
somebody that has some type of vision or passion about where they're going, and in some type of way they can reach out to you and assist you in the process of where you going.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
is it as simple as that? Saying, "Hey, will you mentor me?" you know, is
Well,
it as
that's a,
simple as
that's a
that?
good question. That's a good question. Well, if you grew up like the lifestyle that I grew up in, a lot of times we frowning up all the time and mean mugging. So you have to make yourself approachable. You and,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be surprised if you go. It's like a internship for guys that say, "Hey, man, I dealt with some bumps and bruises in life, and I was wondering if you had time where I can meet with you to show me like some
Mm-hmm.
steps
Mm-hmm.
that I need to do to come into this manhood." And of course, guys, you know, it has to be a safe space for them
Yeah.
to land this type of vulnerability and these
Yes.
type of emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So really what I help do is create that safe space where guys
Yes.
can open up. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
we are at a crossroad where we're starting to see guys open up a little bit. More
Yes.
Black men are going to therapy now, and they understand the process. And if they
Mm-hmm.
feel like me, they saying like, Man, I should have been in therapy, man.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think it's beautiful too. I know one of my other nephews who just recently graduated and he got a scholarship from the for Sigma fraternity, and they had a luncheon with them, and they were sharing with them, the guys of the fraternity were sharing with them, like, listen, we gonna be showing up on your campus. We already put your name out there. We already said, hey, this person, we gonna pop up. And I feel like that is so important,
Yeah.
coming into a whole new level of freedom and responsibility. You're graduated high school. You don't got to listen to well, not that you don't have to listen to parents, but you're not responsible. Your parents are not responsible for you now. You have this extra, your wings are out there, and now you have to learn how to figure out life as a young black man or a young man, or and to have these older guys who have been there, who have lived this experience, who they say, hey, I'm also maybe a first time college person. I didn't come from all of this and that, it was my first time too. So now, knowing that you come from a similar background, I'm letting you know I'm going to be checking up on you. I'm going to be
That's
here to
right.
help you. We're going to create a
Yeah.
community to help each other. Man.
Yeah.
Wow, that so look, got all off my questions, but geez, that was good. That was so good. So when I heard your story, I know you talked about, a life-changing event that you had, after you had gotten shot at one point. And I think that you had a few experiences like that, but you finally had this one experience where you were like, listen, God, like at this point, you can just take my life. Like I don't
Yeah.
obviously don't know what I'm doing with it. So but obviously he had other plans. And so I'm wondering if you want to share anything about that experience. And then the question is, what was the moment or series of events that made you say, I need to change my life?
So like you said, I've been shot three different times. The first time when I was 15 or 16, I was shot in both legs. I was paralyzed for 2 months.
Mm.
I quickly retaliated after I started walking to guys that shot me up. By the time I was 19, I was shot again. And my mother said, it seemed like the bullets are rising, son, right? And I
Mm.
didn't pay it any attention. I ended up
Mm-hmm.
going in Agape House, a 24/7 ministry, and to try to
Mm.
curb some of the things that and behaviors that I was facing. And by the first year that I left there, I was shot again, and this
Wow.
time in the neck, in the jaw, and in the collarbone at close range. And I was
Mm.
spiritually, I believe, drained, and I was emotionally fed up. And my prayer before hitting the ground was, "Please, Lord, take my life." I was,
Mm.
I believe, releasing my responsibility of having a life because, like we said earlier, I didn't have a blueprint, and I was tired of trying to figure out something that I didn't think that I would ever
Wow.
understand.
Ooh.
And so it's something how we take so much from others, but here I am requesting for God to take my life because I no longer want the responsibility of living. And this is what I tell people when I worked in the juveniles and I speak to our youth. It's not guys are of afraid of getting killed. They're not afraid of dying. They're afraid of living.
Wow.
And that's the heavier responsibility that takes place. But out of all those things that took
Mm.
place, I want to share with you something that's wild. Like out of all those events, going to funeral home, countless, losing loved ones or peers, you name it, being and I talk about the times often I've been shot, but not nearly the times I've been shot at. And,
Wow.
and all
Yeah.
these things transpired. But this, I don't believe that God works like that. There's one thing, one event that spiraled that changed my life. So I was a stick up guy. And I would always take my drugs, and I would meet this lady over her house. I would break down, package, and get high and give her a
Mm-hmm.
cut.
Mm-hmm.
Happens like that all the time. But on this particular day, uh, she began crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about the tears was just coming down, and I paid attention to her crying. I was like, what's wrong? And she was saying, I'm tired of doing this. And I was like, okay. And I was looking at her tears, they looked it comforting. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted what she was feeling.
Wow.
So I walked away from her. Of course, me being an old gangster, I can't cry in front of her, right?
Yeah.
I go down the street and I try to produce those same tears and emotions that
Mm-hmm.
she had, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing came down.
Wow.
So when I wasn't able to cry, this when me and God had a dispute. And I was like,
Mm.
what type of monster have you made me that I don't have tear ducts? Like, why I'm not crying? All the things that I have been through, why I'm not the one shedding tears? All the funerals that I have looked at and been to with no tears.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit me and I realized that I haven't cried in some time now, right? Am I numb to this life? And sure enough, as life has it, I go up the street, and this is what we call, like, at this time, a trap house, what they call now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm on a landline. The phone ring. I pick it up, and when I pick it up, it's my honorable sister that live in Alabama now. She says, "Brother, how you doing?" And just that soft voice, and sometimes this is the only thing that we need.
Yeah.
I say, I'm not doing well, sis. And all the tears that had been bottled up for
Wow.
years began to flow down.
Wow. Hmm.
And she came and got me immediately.
Wow.
And as she came and got me, I was prepared. We never had a conversation about what's finna happen. She just came and got me. And when she came and got me and invested just that little time, she
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to lay at her house for several days. I took a baking soda bath to kind of hold down all the drugs that was coming out of my body and impurities. And
Wow.
I went to church the next day. And usually I dodged the altar. But this
Yeah.
time I ran to the altar. I
Ooh.
didn't care how I looked it. And
Wow.
I never got high again after that day.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that was 23 going on 24 years ago. And that's how it happened. It was just simply me wanting to be more vulnerable, to show my emotions that I had suppressed for so many years.
Wow. And just you sharing that, I think about, oh, sorry. Huh. Just you sharing that, I think about, I've even I've heard this said and I've echoed it, where people say, of some young men that, or young people today, they're like, they just don't seem to have the same value on life. They don't seem to care about life. And but you said something so profound that it's like it's not being dying that they're afraid of, it's living. And if
Yeah,
you are a person who the idea of life is heavy on you because you've lived such an unjust life your whole life,
yeah,
you've not seen any kind of break for you, your family, your friends, you've seen all this happen your whole life, and the idea that you have to keep continuing on and be some kind of a good person, be some kind of a productive human being, something that you don't even have an idea how to do, how heavy of an idea is that? So then, no, you wouldn't have the same value on life that a person that has grown up and seen good examples and see, you know what I mean? Like, and it just, I just am like, it just breaks your heart to now say, just want to see differently. Wow. And the idea of just hearing a soft voice, and it's just like, what a difference it could make if we were that soft voice for one of these young people that we, want to, criticize. So, I'm sure that leaving, as you decided, like, I mean, obviously the power of God was there, that helped walk you through that and to help you from that moment on not to go back and get high. And
Yeah.
I imagine though the road wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, and so I'm wondering, what were the biggest obstacles that you faced when walking away? And were you ever presented with an opportunity to make amends with anyone that you might have had a negative relationship during that lifestyle?
Yeah. So the biggest obstacles for me were the old belief systems, thinking that I wasn't enough without the street reputation, like because I believe that's the only thing that I had. And for some guys, like even being good at being bad is something more than just not having anything,
No.
right? So I believe I began making amends sometimes through direct conversations of others that knew and had got out of that life before. Some guys that I even shot at began making a transition in life, and I really didn't care who they was. I wanted to emulate how do I make the transition. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of remaining a byproduct of the environment, I became a solution for my environment.
Mm. Wow.
So it's a
Whew.
lot of guys in that I work with where we was rivals, and now we work together because you already know you need every hand on board. Yeah, boots
Mm-hmm.
on the ground at this time
That's
for
it.
us to intervene any way we can.
And I feel like the system, I'm just gonna say the system, whatever the system is,
Yeah.
they would like to lead us to believe that that don't happen. No, no, no,
uh,
no, no, no. You at war, and you stay at war.
yeah. As a matter of fact, it always happened. Again,
Mm.
I say these transferable skills. As a gang leader, I often consulted with the other gang leaders to keep some
Mm-hmm.
of the peace so we
Mm-hmm.
can continue in the organized crime or the things that we was doing. So this is on the outside as well as in prison. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to consult with them. So it wasn't like for a fetch for me to be able to come at them because I already had relationships with them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so
Wow.
these are some of the other
Yeah.
misconceptions too that
Uh-huh.
people don't know about. You have to have some degree. There's
Mm-hmm.
no guy on his own island. Like the streets is mine. I'm not listening to any rules or regulations. I'm doing everything my way. No, you if that was the case, I don't think I'd be present for this
Mm-hmm.
interview right
Wow. But God. Wow, man. So, and you've talked about, being a peer, or you've talked about how you are trainer, consultant, and you also, I got to hear when you were doing your interview, or I'm sorry, your when you were talking at the NAMI event about how you've gotten into neuroscience, and you were talking about how your behaviors had to change. So, how did understanding the brain help you rewire your thinking?
Yeah. So in my readings, I became a big fan of a lot of guys that was neuroscientists.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Vegas in 2017 to enhance my skills. And there I became a neuro-linguistic practitioner. So
Wow.
some of these accolades you see on the wall, I'm a licensed hypnosis. And when people act,
Wow.
when they say, I hope he don't hypnotize me, I tell them, I really don't hypnotize people. I unhypnotize people
What?
because they already come
Wow.
programmed. They already have thinking that doesn't work for them. So I help remove that. So I'm not hypnotizing somebody against their will. I'm removing these blocks and these things that I once had to remove myself. And I often, when I tell a story about me being shot and after that transition, I had to relearn my ABCs, and that is my attitude, my behavior, and my conduct that led to the drugs. And for some of us, we're still continuing in an outdated system. The AA, the NA, these things was invented in 1920s. And so at some point we have to evolve. I
Yes.
became a fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he says that we have somewhere around 60,000 thoughts a day that we think of. And over 95% of those thoughts are from yesterday. That means that our brain is on a hamster wheel. And this is why we have repeat offenders. This is why we have prior persistence. This is why we have habitual liars, and we steady can't, like, why do I keep doing the same thing over and over? Because we don't have new thoughts that we're filtering in. So I started teaching these individuals the 8 dimensions of wellness. And one of them is intellectual wellness, new innovative solutions and ways and alternatives to know how to do something other than balling up your fists. Find some healthier alternative for conflict resolutions, or just maybe spazzing out a different way to communicate. Like I told you, the sister that saved my life with just soft language. So learning these things, I wanted to know not just how to implement them in my own life, but how can I show somebody else to apply these same skill sets?
Yes.
If they can remove the only thing that they know is survival skills. And now we can move and merge into like coping skills, de-escalating techniques.
Yes.
And things that will continue self-management, things that will continue to pour into us.
Yes.
And we can pass on to our communities, to our loved ones, and peers and people that look like us.
Man, oh wow. Listen, let me tell you, when I say you just helped me, because I know I struggle. I am a notorious late bird. Everybody that knows me, like, Dia gonna be late for everything. Okay. If it started at 3, she'll be there at 4:30. Okay. And I'm like, why am I? So now I'm like, I need to have some thoughts. I keep thinking the same thoughts, and it keep making me do the same. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to learn to do some changing, some thinking that's keeping me bottled in this hamster wheel of being late. So you just helped me. That is awesome, though. I think that is a beautiful thing, because I know that's one of the things that we really desire with, the organization that we have, is we're evolving. Like you say, evolving. As we're evolving, we really want to learn how to bring some of these things to the young men in our community, of learning how. That's why we have the gun violence awareness event. And hopefully, as it grows, that we're able to help be a solution for the community, and to know, like you said, there are other ways. Man, so for young men who feel trapped in the cycle, like you were just talking about that cycle, what would you say would be one of the first things that you would give, or the first pieces of advice that you would give to them to help them figure a way out?
I would tell them that the cage isn't locked. It's just familiar. That our mind makes prison cells out of habits and fear. Meaning the brain usually operates off what's familiar. So if we're familiar with destruction, we will go there because we're not sure what's over there. Even if someone said that's opportunity, that's safety. But if you never seen opportunity and safety, it becomes foreign to you. So you will gravitate and move in an area that's familiar, even if you realize that danger is involved. At least I'm familiar with this danger. And over here, I'm not so sure what that is. So the fear of the unknown, I would say for those guys, like, venture off, expose yourself, expose your vulnerabilities, like seek other things. Just don't read from one book. I don't care what it is, right? But open up and compare some things. You may think you live in a gorgeous house if you've never been outside of your neighborhood. And one thing about gang members is because the less that the more that we are in conflict with someone else. Now gangs used to this the 56 block and this the 55 block. If they into it, what it does is reduces their resources. So if it's a library and it's a community center over here that helps individuals, but we can't go there because we warn with that side of town, it limited our resources.
I
Yeah,
see.
so we have a six
Wow.
block radius mine. So therefore we have a 6 block resource that we only apply to. So we have to expand those thoughts and get out of those communities just for we can see something better. And that exposure alone will open us up to a multitude of things and possibilities that we can have.
I love that. And I remember in an interview that we did with I believe it was Jarrell Smith, and we were talking about how even if you can't physically move your body to a different position, like use just books, you can open a book and a book can open up a whole new like just world of possibilities for you. And I think it's important, like you say, exposure vulnerabilities. I remember listening to a roundtable. I want to say it might have been Kirk Franklin's Den of Kings, and one of the men on there were talking about how he exposed his insecurities to his children, or his failures to his children, so that they could see him. They wouldn't put him on this pedestal as a father, this ultra human that is this perfect man, but like see me as a human. And now there's a different level of compassion we can have for one another when you see me as human. And I think that is a beautiful thing, like you said, when you are willing to expose your vulnerabilities to others. It's amazing. And so also I wanted to ask you, what book are you reading right now?
I'm actually reading my own books right now. So I'm
Yes.
pushing out a lot of books. I, I'm almost at the end of finishing a trilogy, and that trilogy is called Champ Recovery. And the second volume is Relapse and Redemption, and the third one is Maintenance and Longevity. Because what I realize is that some individuals, they get too content and complacent, and they don't elevate in those areas. And I always say, like, we would find it unusual for a 13-year-old to be in kindergarten. At some point, he needs to graduate. And we can't use the same wellness tools that we used in 1980. And sometimes we become comfortable with things that we really don't have an understanding. When sometimes we'll say, well, it was good enough for my mother or my parents. Yeah, but time has evolved. We have AI. We have different technologies. So we have to move and shift with those technologies, and our thought process has to move as well. It can't stay stagnated in the same thing. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Wow. Oh man. One of the last questions that I have for you, how can communities better support young men who are trying to leave these certain lifestyles? And in asking this question, I also wanted to just ask this question too, because I'm like, you know, you were you were a keynote speaker at our gun violence awareness event, and that was a bittersweet date. It was a bittersweet day because while we are out here advocating for gun violence awareness and bringing peace, we learn about a 19-year-old young man who was shot that very morning and died, and who was shot that very morning and lost his life. And a part of me is like, what's the point, you know? And so I just, so going back to my question is, one, how we can, what can communities do to help better support these young men, and is what's the point? Should do we keep trying? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I would say. I want to thank you again for the opportunity for bringing me out there. And I tell people all the time, just because I'm working on these things, I still heal from hearing from others share their stories as well. I would say some of the avenues like you and your organization is doing, just creating that safe space. See, we can see, and a lot of times organizations and non-for-profits, they are funded based off statistical data.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have like 20 kids, God forbid, but to die to gun violence, someone will fund you based off those stats. But if you save 20 kids, it's harder to show the documentation of preventive measures than it is the intervention and the totalities of those actions. So I would say we have to stop expecting people to heal in the same environments that broke them. So communities need to offer safe spaces like you did with those events and those kids that stay there. We just take advantage like, well, they was raised different. No, they being raised different because they have those spaces and they have those opportunities. And the more events, and I know I get frustrated, and I'm speaking to those that's in this field that may go through vicarious trauma and may go through compassion fatigue. We have to continue doing the work, even if we don't see it. And I explain like this. You may go outside and see a rusted bike, but just because you didn't see the rust develop, it doesn't mean that it wasn't happening.
That's good.
Yeah. Yes. So we doing the work. A lot of us, we doing the work. I encourage us to continue doing the work.
Yes.
Even when it seems like it fall on deaf ears. Sometimes I get guys come up to me and say, "Hey, Mr. Thomas, you remember you helped me?" And they didn't complete my program, but they doing well because something that I said sparked them, and they was able to apply the tools into real life. So yes, I say like when I seen the event that you hosted, I was blown away by that it even filtered through the community.
Wow.
That people had somewhere to go, and it felt safe. No one there was nervous, and it was just a blast. And we need to duplicate those platforms right there to give individuals a voice. And I say, even if they're not a professional speaker, hey, let them speak.
Yes.
Let them know, hey, your voice here matters.
Yes.
You're heard here.
Yes. Wow. Thank you. That is such encouragement. So thank you. Thank you for those words. Gosh, this has been so good. Okay, and before we get into you telling everybody how they can find you, link up with you, get your books, all that, if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing, what would you say to your younger self?
Ooh, so much. But I tell him, you are more powerful than you realize. Everything you're searching for in those streets, validation, protection, love, already exists inside of you. Trust the quiet voice, not the loud crowd.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Mr. Thomas, this has been absolutely wonderful. I cannot wait for us to connect more, work more together. But before we go, please let everybody know how they can follow you, where they can support you, get your books, all the things.
All right. So my books are on Amazon. So you can go look for Al Thomas, wellness coach, I have the Blueprint to Wellness, the Champ Trilogy. What else do I have? The Blackout Life Plan. So these are all books that I have and published, and I also do these speakings. Go to www.champ Training and Consultation. Book one of my classes, whether it's NLP training, whether it's peer support, or the Wellness Recovery Action Plan. I teach anger management as well. So I do several things, and I want to get more of my social media content out here. So that's something that I'm working on now. So they can find me on any of those platforms, and I'll be pleased to come out and see if I can assist or help with any organizations, grassroots organizations, big organizations, because I believe we need a community in order to reprove ourselves and to get to the stages where we at, so we can maximize our potentials.
Maximizing our potentials. Yes, indeed. Well, listen, I will be sure to link the things down in the description, put the information up on the screen, whatever we need to do so you guys can get connected with Mr. Al Thomas. And listen, it has been a huge pleasure. So thank you so much again for taking your time out to have this interview with me. I hope that every person that comes across this interview, that you are inspired, that if you are that person or you have that person in your life who feels like, I'm trapped in this life and I am not maximizing my potential, please share this and let them know there is greatness in you. And I want to just encourage each and every one of you, if you haven't done so already today, life is heavy. So go find a reason to laugh and keep smiling. Until next time, stay blessed. Bye, everybody.
What's up, changemakers? Let me keep it real with you for a second. Growing up as a young Black man, I know firsthand how hard it can be to navigate a world that doesn't always see your potential. Did you know that nationally, for every dollar invested in youth programs, only 10 cents goes to programs specifically for young men of color? 10 cents, despite the disproportionate need. In Lexington, we're striving to change this statistic. JLD Community Solutions is breaking this cycle through providing scholarships and leadership development, focusing on crucial topics such as financial literacy and vital life skills, proven tools to break cycles of poverty and violence. Over 30 young men have already been lifted up by this work, and over $25,000 in scholarships awarded to help with college expenses. That's what happens when we invest in our own. But here's the thing, we can't do this alone. With resources shrinking, these young kings need us now more than ever. For just $15 a month, less than what most of us spend on coffee or streaming services, you can help make sure these programs don't just survive, but thrive. Your $15 could be the difference between a young man giving up or stepping into his greatness. Join me today as a monthly partner with JLD Community Solutions. Let's show these young men we see them, believe in them, and are here to help them win. Visit our website and sign up now, because their future can't wait.